Hi all, this is Once and Future Gamer and welcome to another Pokemon Challenge. Last time we had the Gen 1 challenge as we took a run through Pokemon Yellow with a single Voltorb, but this time we've got a run in Gen 4 to test us as we see if I can beat Pokemon Platinum with a Single Kricketune. We have got a 384 base stat total, our best stats being attack and HP, with speed being a bit behind, but not by too much. We could hit reasonably hard here. 384 is the same as Palpitoad, quite a bit worse than a second form starter Pokemon, slightly worse than a 3-stage regional bug like Butterfree, Beedrill and the 2 Wurmple evolutions who have 385. We have 3 weaknesses, Flying, Rock and Fire, 3 resistances to Fighting, Ground and Grass. Now, our Learn set isn't terrible. It's not premium, but it's not terrible. We get Fury Cutter at level 10 as soon as we evolve. We get Focus Energy, Slash, X Scissor and Night Slash. So there are a few decent moves in there. Sing probably won't be too useful long term. Perish Song and Bug Buzz definitely won't be. Via TM, we do get Brick Break, Aerial Ace and Swords Dance as well as Return. So there could be some use there for sure. There is nothing truly fantastic that we can get via the move tutor either. Mud Slap and Knockoff are notable, but both are really weak. Rules are on the screen throughout. This challenge was left over from when I did Bug Month earlier on in the year and never got around to this one. As always, if you have any ideas for future challenges, follow links in the description to my Twitter or my Discord or comment away. If you do enjoy what you see, then like, subscribe and ring that bell. A serious word though folks, I am trying to hit 300 subscribers before the end of the year, so please help me achieve that goal. I use the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to replace Turtwig with Kricketot, so that I can do the whole run with it. The Pokemon evolves at level 10 and it only has Bide as an air quote attacking move until then. I chose to replace Turtwig so that the rival will have Chimchar, which definitely the hardest for us to fight. In fact, this run is likely going to be brutal with the Staraptor line he'll have later in the game. We have that first rival battle before long. Now, I'm not expecting to win, I'm not going to lie. We do inflict some decent damage on the Chimchar. We do way more than I expect, but he's either phenomenally smart in this battle or monstrously dumb. One of the two, and I do not know which. We get hit with a Leer and then a Scratch that does 5 points of damage while we are using Bide. So, that's good. We do over half its health with the 10 points of damage we strike back with. But unfortunately, it keeps on leering and never attacks us again while we're in the position to end it. 4 or 5 Leers, they prove eventually to be fatal when it does scratch us again, and we go down hard to that scratch. Now, I had a pretty good feeling we wouldn't win there. Now, I have the pleasant task of trying to train it up 5 levels. Yay! Just a quick check of what we're working with then when we get the chance. We have the Rash nature, which is increased special attack and lowered special defense. I'm not going to lie, that does us absolutely no favours whatsoever, but I suppose it could have been worse. I'm not resetting for something better. Kricketot has the Shed Skin ability, which I quickly check Bulbapedia and discover we will lose that ability when we evolve in favour of Swarm. I think I would have preferred Shed Skin for the full game, but oh well. I do the training outside of Twin Leaf Town because I pretty much need to run back and heal after every single encounter. Bidoof are pretty good to train on because I think they just have Tackle as a move and nothing else. So, unlike the Starly, they can't just spam Growl or something like that to waste our time. It is slow, but eventually, very eventually, we get to the point where we can get the evolution and we can get started properly now. We get to Rowan's lab and get the chance to nickname our Pokemon. I had thoughts about the nickname. Was considering Delliwoop, but went against it. Largely because I didn't want to have to keep saying Delliwoop through the video. That's sort of the cry. I think that the moustache that the Kricketune has is very Sam Elliott, just a thought. But eventually, I went with Ludwig, felt at, just saying. Does it matter? No, not really. It's not too long before we get the chance to get some retaliation in on our rival as we come face to face with him outside Jubilife City. I've been doing some training and I figure that we are ready to do this. Fury Cutter is a decent early game move as long as it lands, but there are 2 Pokemon on his team that will resist that move. Starly does keep growling at us, which is not particularly helpful, I'll say that. We're trying to ramp up our power to take it down as we keep hacking at it with our sword arms. 4 Fury Cutters are what it takes to bring the Starly down, during which time we also get hit with a quick attack. Chimchar is a slightly higher level, but we can take it down in 2 hits before it can start attacking us. It only goes for Leah, so that was a simple win at least. I bet the first gym won't be for sure. Rock is a rock type trainer and rock is one of our weaknesses, so we are liable to get quite badly hurt here potentially. Onyx and Geodude have great defence, so it may take a few turns for Fury Cutter to ramp up enough to deal enough damage. We do have Sing though, so I may use that to get some breathing room for Fury Cutter. We will see. We do use Sing on Geodude and keep it asleep for a few turns, which is vital, as it gives us the time we need to keep striking Fury Cutters. I am very fortunate that the move never misses throughout this fight. Geodude is asleep at least 2 or 3 turns. It wakes up and hits Rock Throw as we drop it onto red health, though, which isn't entirely good. Rock does drop a potion and we have to hit 2 more Fury Cutters to take it down. The good news is that we are on a rampage now and a single Fury Cutter drops Onyx in 1 hit due to it like being the 5th, 6th or 7th Fury Cutter. I don't know the maths, I wasn't counting. Cranidos doesn't survive it either. 1 badge down anyway. I do still want to use Cranidos in a run at some point. Next major fight is the Windworks fight with Commander Mars, and I recently said that this was amongst one of the harder fights in this game. I really want Slash before this fight. We get that at level 26. So, this was annoying because my PC died for about a week at this point and I had to redo the Rock fight and the grinding again because I didn't save it. I will talk more about this later. Commander Mars then. I know from previous efforts on her that Zubat has the move Toxic, and so I equip a Peachy Berry for this fight. We focus energy on the first turn and then we have to use the berry when we get poisoned. But as we heal, we take it out with Slash, and that is why I wanted the move. Purugly is a bit more of an obstacle. As per usual, we get tagged with Fake Out, which is part of the reason why I didn't want to use Fury Cutter in this fight, before we end up going on the Slash offensive, and at this point, we can hurt the big cat a bit more than it can hurt us. And although it takes a few turns, although she tries to heal with a berry, we do eventually bring it down. Next major fight on our journey is Gardenia, and this one shouldn't be too bad. I mean, we resist grass, so probably the most dangerous thing we have to face in this fight will be the status afflictions. I could have kept Fury Cutter, but chose not to. Neither are good moves, but I thought the health recovery from Leech Life might be slightly better. I am worried about the Ghost Gym though. We will probably have X-Scissor come the fight with Gardenia, which, as a move, will be lethal. I make it to Eterna City and go and fight her. I stand by my opinion, things will probably be okay until we get to the next city. Then things might get a bit tricky, but we have Gardenia to take on now, and then there's Jupiter after. So, we've got a bit of a way to go before then. Maybe we'll have Night Slash before the Ghost Gym. Possibly not, but maybe. Let's try this. It goes well. Turtwig does have some annoying status moves. I go for the Sing to try and stop that happening, but Sing misses as Sing does tend to do. I have no idea how, since sound travels in all directions, but I digress. It goes for Reflect and Sunny Day. I go for Focus Energy and another Sing to put it to sleep. auto-ace some turns for the reflect, and on the turn after, we strike an X-scissor to take it out. Cherub doesn't survive X-scissor at all. We strike it down in one hit and the reflect goes down with it to give us a one-on-one fight with Roserade. I have a Cherry Berry equipped just in case of paralysis, but we do not need it. We one-hit Roserade with X-scissor to give us the second badge. Get in! We've got the Jupiter fight next, and I don't know how good or bad this one is going to be. Hopefully more of the former than the latter. I am fighting everyone because I really want Night Slash ahead of the next gym, and we get that at level 42. Might be a touch overpowered, but Fantina can be annoying, and there's nothing wrong with stacking the deck in your favour. I think we are going to get walled at some point of this challenge, so best build up fast. The Jupiter fight is reasonably straightforward, and that's what I like to hear. We go for the Focus Energy versus Zubat. We get hit with a wing attack that we take reasonably well and then down it with a slash. That is a relief. Skuntank is next, and this could be worrying right up until we drop it with an X-scissor to give us the win. Onward to Hearthome City then, and the joy that that's going to bring. Why am I so worried about Hearthome City? Excellent question. So the Ghost Gym isn't going to be fun without a reasonably effective move. And of our attacking moves, Slash is useless and X-scissor is resisted. Hence why I'm leaning towards Night Slash. Second of all, once Fantina is out of the way, there is a rival fight, and he begins with an intimidating Staravia. We have no way to mitigate that just quite yet. So yeah, this might be the first block. Let us find out just how bad Fantina is going to be then. Not as bad as I'm actually fearing, because I do manage to get the move Night Slash before the fight, and I am ready to go and mess her up. Now I have that move, I'm really not scared of her, and it turns out I don't have to be, as with Night Slash we can wreck her entire team in a flurry of that move, cutting through the Duskull in the first battle before we go up against Miss Magius, and that goes down too with Night Slash. Haunter doesn't fare any better, and we down that with our final Night Slash. 3 badges down, thank you very much. Rival fight then before we leave town, and I am looking even less forward to this than I was Fantina, because although I think we should be able to do it, I can see it being truly annoying. I've had some bad experience of this fight before. Although, thanks to a few bits of luck, it turns out well. We Focus Energy versus Staravia. Remember, we are intimidated, so we're not going to do as much damage. And although it goes for double team, we crit a slash to bring it down in a single hit. Boom! Staravia can be a pain with double team, and it has Endeavour as well, and that has caught me out before. Monferno is a 2-hit takeout with slash, the second being a crit, and we get hit with an insipid Flame Wheel. Both Weasel out next and Roselia out at the end are single hit takedowns with X-scissor, and this was so much better than I thought it would be. It's time to start thinking about movesets then. I definitely want the Swords Dance TM, and that will be something ahead I can get from the Game Corner in Veilstone. I think I might want Aerial Ace in this run, especially for the rivals Infinite. Brick Break could be a useful move. I already have X-scissor, Night Slash and regular slash, so something has to be dropped. So this is the balancing act. For rock and steel types, I feel Brick Break needs to be a must. I toy with the idea of if I will really need Night Slash from here on out. Shouldn't be too many ghosts to deal with, so I could keep X-scissor, which will do well versus psychic types. Aerial Ace, X-scissor, Brick Break and Swords Dance. That could be my final moveset. In fact, I think it will be. Maylene is the next major fight in Veilstone, and speaking of Aerial Ace and Brick Break, both those moves will be exceptionally useful here. I'm reasonably confident we can beat her without too much trouble, though I don't know how easy the next gym leader after her will be. Wake is never particularly fun to fight. Anyway, I don't even bother with Swords Dance here, and it really doesn't affect us, as we shake off the effects of Fake Out from Meditite and down it with an Aerial Ace to put us one up in the fight. Before, the Machoke is next, and I'm not after taking chances here, and we drop it with Aerial Ace. Lucario is last, we outspeed and take it out with Brick Break for a win. So, we have 4 badges and our final moveset. Before we can fight Crash Awake, we need to take on the rival fight in Pastoria City, and we should at least have a bit more of an edge here now since we have Swords Dance and Aerial Ace. So, that does neutralise Staravia somewhat, though super effective flying type moves might not be the best if they hit us. It is good practice for Wake and his Gyarados being intimidated. Wing attack from Staravia doesn't do a lot, so I get 3 Swords Dancers up while it hits us twice and goes for a double team. It's to naught though as we drop it with Aerial Ace, and then on the next turn we do the same thing to Monferno to put us 2 up very quickly. Weasel does hit an Aqua Jet for minimal damage, and we take it out with X-Scissor before doing the same to Roselia with little afterthought. Into the gym then. This is the thing, I suppose. It's one thing powering up on a Staravia. Doing it on a Gyarados who is trying to murder you is a whole different ball game. So this is probably not going to be pleasant in the slightest. We are going to start off intimidated, so that's not good. And this Pokemon is the flaw in my planned moveset. And there's another one later, keep in mind. Ah well, let's do this. Not as bad as I thought. We go for 3 Swords Dancers versus Gyarados to put us at +5 in attack. We get hit by the first waterfall, and I think we can survive at least another one, barring a crit. And I do make the decision to get a 3rd one in when I see what damage the second one does to us. We are on red health though. I drop it with Aerial Ace, but I really don't want an Aqua Jet Floatzel to come in next. Thankfully, that is not something I have to worry about, as Quagsire emerges and we take it down with X-Scissor. Before, we do the same to Floatzel at the end, and as it goes down to X-Scissor, we have just won our 5th badge. So far it's going smooth. I think the next major Gyarados, the one that Cyrus has, that might not be so simple, but we will have to see. I am actually dreading Cyrus. We have Travelling next, so let's do some trivia about Kricketot and Kricketune. Kricketot is the only Pokemon with a base stat total of 194. Kricketot's cries contain sounds reminiscent to that of a xylophone, which is stated in a few of its Pokédex entries. Kricketot evolves at the lowest level of a Pokemon that is part of a 2-stage evolutionary line at level 10, as we saw earlier. Since Gen 7, Kricketune has the lowest base stat total of any fully evolved Pokemon, with stats that are calculated through traditional formula. Shedinja does have a lower base stat total, but that is largely due to its 1 HP, which is not used. That's what Bulbapedia claims anyway, but I'm not sure I buy it, since there is Cantonian Farfetch'd in there, which has lower and is considered fully evolved. There's Sableye and Mawile, which don't Mega Evolve anymore too. I'll take that with a pinch of salt, I think. Not much to go on here, other than Kricketune has probably one of the most distinctive cries ever. Speaking of Cyrus though, we have to fight him in Celestic Town, but this shouldn't be too much of an issue. I don't think he'll cause us problems. Not this time anyway. Future? Yeah. Here? Nah, I don't think so. I mean, there's always a chance things could go wrong, but hopefully this isn't going to be the case. And what do you know? It turns out fine as we get 2 Swords Dancers up versus Sneasel. There is a minor moment of worry. Sneasel hits us with 2 Ice Punches, propagating the risk of being frozen. But nothing there, although the second is a crit. We then end it with Brick Break. Golbat is next, and it's the reason I wanted to use the Swords Dancers. We swoop in with Aerial Ace and we take it out in 1 hit. It can't stand up to the blow, and we do finish Murkrow off with an X-Scissor to give us a swift win. Next fight is the Canalave City rival fight. He's starting to get bigger and badder. His team has definitely grown up a bit here since the fight before the last gym, and this could be worrying. But again, most of the worry comes from the prospect of Staraptor. Get that thing off his team and it's not really an issue. Anyway, irrelevant because he does have it. let's get this battle started because I am feeling optimistic. He is probably his own worst enemy in this fight. We go for a swords dance at the start and his star raptor chooses to go for double team, which suits me fine. I go for another swords dance and he goes for another double team. If he had attacked from the start, I'd have probably needed to re-evaluate my strategy, and that's proved as we go for a third swords dance and get hit with aerial ace for pretty decent damage. That's the last straw. We hit an aerial ace and drop Star Raptor. We do the same thing to Infernape on the next turn with the same move, and after that we do the same thing to Heracross with another aerial ace to put us 3 up in the fight. Floatzel goes down to X-Scissor on the next turn just to change it up, and we do the same thing to Roserade to take the victory. Byron then! This fight probably won't be that bad. We can power up and hit him hard with Brick Break. That's the plan, and what could go wrong? I think of the last bit of the game, this might be amongst the most simple of fights. We go for a swords dance versus Magneton and get hit with Thunderbolt. We don't get paralysed, which was my worry. I even checked to make sure it didn't have Thunder Wave beforehand. With our attack boosted, we drop it with Brick Break. We do the same thing on the next turn to Bastiodon, our quad effective Brick Break, wrecking it before the final opponent is Steelix. It actually survives our Brick Break on a Sliver and hits Flash Cannon, which actually does more damage than I expected. Not much more damage admittedly, but it still does some damage, and when he heals we go for another swords dance and smash it down with a Brick Break for the victory and the 6th badge. We have got story fights with Team Galactic now, and the first battle is versus Commander Saturn at Lake Valor. I'm ready for this and I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue. Saturn never is, but I wish I could say the same about the others. We go for a swords dance versus Golbat and it then misses Toxic on us. My nerve goes somewhat as I don't want to take the chance of being afflicted with a status condition, and we drop the bat with an aerial ace. Bronzor is next and we strike an X-Scissor to take it out and give us the win, before Toxicroak is last and we strike it out with aerial ace for a win. I rush to Lake Verity to fight Commander Mars again and work my way towards her as Dawn is doing her best to confront her. I think this one might be a bit harder, but still likely shouldn't be too much of an issue. The hardest Team Galactic fights are yet to come for sure. The fight goes similar to the Saturn one, believe it or not. Swords Dance versus Golbat, but instead of a Toxic, she goes for an Air Cutter, which does decent damage, which, not ideal, but at least it wasn't Confuse Ray, so that's something for sure. We take it out with Aerial Ace on the next turn to strike it down and give us a win. Bronzor doesn't survive our X-Scissor, we land the move to defeat it, and at the last is Pure Ugly, who does hit Fake Out, but we shrug it off and can drop it with Brick Break on the next turn to give us a big win. As I travel to Snowpoint City, just a few words about what's been ongoing with the channel. Not much actually. We did have a week where there weren't many uploads, this being just before the Yellow with Voltorb challenge aired. I had some PC issues, my processor died, so it took the best part of a week to sort that out. So I've been playing more Pokemon Colosseum. I did start a Claire B playthrough of Resident Evil 2 Remake. I've been doing that tentatively, but it will likely be up at some point. I did do episode 5 of Pokemon Master Showdown, which was Gladion vs Time. I do know what episodes 6 and 7 will be, but not revealing them right now. Of course, there is a chance episode 6 might have aired already by this point, so screw it. It's Hugh from Black and White 2 versus Ash Ketchum. I've been opening booster packs and random boxes full of booster packs, so I'm enjoying getting back into the TCG. I have really been working on this. I mean, it's not been on the channel, it's more been a personal passion project. I am, at the time of recording this, I am 1 card away from completing the original base set, and I am 3 cards away from completing the Fossil expansion. I really want to play the Pokemon TCG game on for Game Boy Color on this channel at some point. Anyway, challengers, we are down to the penultimate challenge of the year next time, and it's going to be Pokemon Emerald with a single Chimecho. I'm really not sure how that one will play out, but it's something that could be interesting for sure. A very Christmas challenge we have right there, as it will be the last one before Christmas. I can't believe I'm writing that. Where did this year go? As always, if you have any ideas of future challenges, head to the comment section down below, or follow the links in the description to my Twitter or my Discord. Always interested to see what people come up with, always. I have had some intriguing ideas of late. As always, if you do enjoy what you see, then please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Help the channel grow. Still aiming, and failing miserably, for that 300 subscribers by the end of the year. Actually, that's what I wrote, but it is inching up slightly. At the time of recording, I believe it was at 258 subscribers, so 42 off? Possible. We'll see. Anyway, let's get back to the regular content. Next major fight is the Ice Gym, and I'm actually reasonably confident here. Candice can be annoying, but I think we're set up well to counter her for sure, since we have a super effective move. I don't even think she'll send a Bomber Snow out until the end, due to us being bug type, so no early hail, and we can get around Frostlass's evasion tactics. I think when I did this game with Skorupi, she did something similar. Let's do this. It goes about as well as might be expected. We Swords Dance versus Sneasel, just the one Swords Dance because it does have Aerial Ace, and I really don't think I'll need more or want to chance it. We do tank the Aerial Ace and then drop it with a Brick Break. No surprise there. Piloswine goes down to Brick Break, which puts us 2 up before the Frostlass is 3rd, and this is kind of the reason I wanted the Swords Dance. We strike it with an Aerial Ace and it goes down. Last is a Bomber Snow, and though the hail does start, we down it with X-Scissor. We have a boss rush now, as we have fights with Cyrus, Saturn, Jupiter and Mars in the most annoying double battle of all time. I said it in my 100th challenge, it's probably consistently the second hardest fight ever in any challenge I do, and then Cyrus again. We face Cyrus in the Galactic building shortly after, and I don't know what to expect, but this is actually harder than I thought. And get this, we actually lose the first attempt. I am really worried about the Distortion World fight now. We don't power up versus Sneasel with a Swords Dance. Taking that out with a Brick Break isn't a problem. But Aerial Ace doesn't do much versus Crobat without being powered up. We get hit with a Supersonic at the start, which not ideal. And when we hit ourselves in confusion, it becomes even less so. And eventually, we go down for the count after being hit with a flurry of super effective air cutters. Well, that's really worrying for the next fight if we can't outspeed Crobat now. A little bit of foresight is a good thing, and I make a second attempt shortly after, which does go better, as we get a Swords Dance up versus Sneasel. We do get frozen by Ice Punch, which not ideal for sure, but we do 4 out quickly after, and we can take it down relatively easily. That freeze was annoying. Crobat doesn't try to inflict confusion on us this time, going on the attack instead. Even with 1 Swords Dance up, we don't one hit that with Aerial Ace, which worried me even more. We do get him to waste the full restore on the Crobat and take it down with 2 more Aerial Ace attacks. I'm really worried about the next fight now. Anyway, Honchkrow goes down to X-Scissor, but this has given me much thought, and I think I'm going to need levels for sure to overpower him next time. There is a quick fight with Saturn before we leave, and this really shouldn't worry me, but I thought that about Cyrus, huh? And you know what? This fight with Saturn nearly goes wrong too. And again, it's down to frigging confusion. The level advantage doesn't mean spit when we're being handicapped by status conditions. We Swords Dance versus Golbat and then get hit with Confuse Ray. It then survives our Aerial Ace when we fight through the confusion. We hit ourselves on the next turn and get hit with a few air cutters again. I'm really getting sick of that move, but thankfully we take it down before we go down ourselves. Massive relief. Bronzor goes down to X-Scissor on the next turn, and although I'm worried about Toxicroak for a moment, we outspeed and Aerial Ace it for a quick win. Okay, Mars and Jupiter, I'd rather not, but let's get this done. I love how their initial reactions to this whole fight was, let's beat up this child. I mean, I don't know how old the protagonists of Sinnoh are meant to be, but I think they are slightly older than 10 years old. Not much older, 14 maybe I'd say. Let's physically beat up this teenager does sound moderately better. Not by much for sure, but somewhat. I went on a bit of a level grind before this. The key to this fight is always to try and turn this into a 2-on-1 as soon as possible. So, swords dance is always the order of the day to start with. I sometimes wonder if knocking the rival's munchlax out would actually benefit us, since that thing is borderline useless. Anyway, this isn't bad, as two swords dancers and the combination with Brick Break combine beautifully to get rid of their screens, and we take out Bronzor, Skunk Tank and Golbat in quick order, with Brick Break, X-Scissor and Aerial Ace before we turn our attention to Jupiter. Ludwig does get confused, but it never becomes an issue, and we go on the offensive, downing Bronzor with Brick Break, Golbat with Aerial Ace and Pure Ugly with another Brick Break to take a very swift win. That went way better than I thought, and probably the easiest fight I've had versus these two for a while. Cyrus then, and I can honestly say that I'm dreading this extremely. He has 3 flying types and a fire type amongst his team of 5, so this is not going to be great. That fire type opens Houndoom, and getting shot at with fire while we try to power up won't be fun. And we are going to need to power up due to Gyarados having Intimidate for sure. I did use the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to skip the Distortion World, and I'm not ashamed of that because it is more annoying than difficult. Not that it makes a difference. I make 30 minutes worth of attempts on Cyrus, and we do come close a few times, but ultimately for nothing. Who beats us? Well, who doesn't beat us several times, since I think each member of his team finished us off in that half an hour. Houndoom beat us several times, sometimes by burning us with Will-O-Wisp, sometimes by Flamethrower. And Will-O-Wisp is actually the optimal start, given that it has a chance to miss. Flamethrower inflicts way too much damage on us. It isn't a one-hit kill, which is something, but we definitely won't survive 2 of the move. Honchkrow can beat us if we try to power up versus that. It does have Heat Wave plus a flying move, so not very helpful. Crobat beats us a lot, unfortunately. Sometimes through Cross Poison, sometimes through Toxic, sometimes through Air Slashers. And there are some efforts where I get through Houndoom and Honchkrow with +4 in attack, a lot of health left, and then we just get crit because Crobat is faster than us and that beats us badly. We do lose some attempts to Gyarados, largely when we try to power up against it, and those waterfalls really do hurt. And there's even a few efforts where we do lose to Weavile because again, that is faster than us. So, this is not happening at this level. It's really not. I'm disappointed by this, but I did figure that this was coming. I look like I need to go and grind then. Let's go and do this. I'll come back soon. I think I have said this before. There does tend to be in these challenges some point where I am quite a bit over leveled. It's because I like to fight every trainer as I go along. Because the thing is, I could go back and do it, but I don't like to remember where every single trainer is that I've fought. So I always go forward with the idea that, well, we might not need to be over leveled for this and this, but if we look at what's ahead, I probably will need to be for that. So it's often a survival reflex to try and get ahead of the curve, because just as we've seen here with this 30 minutes worth of attempts, there's always a point where something does wall us quite viciously. I did say I'd come back soon. That might be an interesting choice of words, but I do eventually come back at level 80, and I hope that this makes a difference. That low special defence is absolutely murdering us. Level 80, and it's not even in 3 figures. It does take a few efforts, but we do eventually get through it, and it's all thanks to a very fortunate miss. Anytime we come out of the fight with Houndoom without being burned, it's a very good thing, since that is a very viable outcome. Either through Will-O-Wisp, which usually misses 9 times out of 10 whenever I use it, but hits 9.9 times out of 10 here when Houndoom uses it, but we get the Swords Dance up and drop it with Brick Break. Honchkrow goes down to X Scissor, and we can inflict decent damage on Crobat, but it crucially did miss not 1 but 2 air slashers on us when we were weakened. The amount of times that move either crit us or flinched us and miss was very long overdue. Again, feels like it misses 9 times out of 10 for me. Gyarados does go down to a single aerial ace, and that's a huge relief because although we get hit with Fake Out from Weavile, we are actually faster this time, and that is massive because we can take it out with X Scissor to give us a long awaited win. Phew! Electric Gym is next, and we should be okay here as long as we avoid paralysis. If we do get afflicted by that, it's going to make it tricky, but we are going to have to try and deal as best we can. Raichu has Static, I think Jolteon has Thunder Wave, so not good. Let's try this. Easy is how it goes. We outspeed Jolteon, and I'm surprised at that, and one hit that with X Scissor. I try the same move on Luxray, but it survives on low health, and given I know a heal is probably going to happen, I go for a Swords Dance while Volkner does heal it up, and thus the Luxray is defeated with another X Scissor. Third is Electivire, and another X Scissor brings it down, and the last is Raichu. We crash into that with X Scissor, and we take it down for the win. After Victory Road, there is the rival fight, and we need to do this quickly because I have some worries. Mainly about Staraptor again. We're set up quite well for everything else on his team, but the bird is the word on my lips as to what the problem might be. Let's do this. It goes pretty well as we get 2 Swords Dancers going versus Staraptor, getting hit with 2 aerial aces, but that doesn't bother me as we go on the offensive. We strike Staraptor down pretty quickly with our counter attack, and then we're facing Infernape, and an aerial ace puts it down. Heracross is next, and another aerial ace ends that before the next opponent is Snorlax, and we smash that with a Brick Break to one-hit that. Floatzel goes down to an X Scissor before we do the same to Roserade right at the end with the same move, and just like that, we've won. We hit level 87 in that fight, and here are our stats at that level. I'm pretty pleased with the attack stat, that has carried us so far. And the beautiful thing, no Intimidators in the Elite Four, that I can think of. Special defence isn't the best, as I said a few minutes ago, but speed isn't anything to scoff at, so I can live with this. Aaron shouldn't be hard, we can Swords Dance and Aerial Ace him and his Bug-type team. Bertha should be okay once we get sufficient Swords Dance power up. Flint might be tricky because we're going to struggle to power up without getting possibly incinerated, but Lucian shouldn't be an issue. Cynthia, well, your guess is as good as mine. Take your guesses on if we can do it at this level or not. Right now, folks, let's go for it. Bug Trainer Aaron is first, and I'm not worried. Yanmega at the start likes to spam Double Team and let Speed Boost kick in. Double Team is not going to be an issue for sure, though I would be worried if it has any flying moves. Rest of his team shouldn't be an issue if we can get some sword spinning ongoing. Let's go. So Yanmega goes for 2 Double Teams in the time it takes for us to Swords Dance, but going first for the second turn doesn't do it any favours as we crash an Aerial Ace into it. Versus Vespiquen, we go for 2 more Swords Dancers while it goes for Defend Order twice. Our Aerial Ace crashes into it and brings it down. Drapion goes down to X Scissor before the Heracross is next, and an Aerial Ace absolutely murders it. Last is Sinnoh, and despite Aerial Ace being neutral damage, it does enough damage to bring it down. Easy! Let's head into the fight with Bertha, and we will need a few Swords Dancers to deal with her Pokemon. Gliscor has decent defence, and her Rock types will be tricky otherwise with their decent physical defence. Let's go, take this challenge on then. 3 Swords Dancers are what we get going versus Whiscash. We watch it use Sandstorm and 2 Aqua Tails in succession to put us in yellow health, but then we go on the offensive and down it with X Scissor. Next is Gliscor, and the only effective move we have is Aerial Ace, but it does the job. Golem goes down to Brick Break, and on the next turn, Rhyperior does as well. Finally, we use X Scissor to bring down the Hippowdon, and we can move onto Flint. I think this one is going to be harder for sure. Maybe I go for one Swords Dance on his first Pokemon and hope that it doesn't hurt us too badly and that Infernape doesn't outspeed us. We should be okay. Everything crossed. Let's do this. First effort, we very nearly get away with it and it's a draw. We go for one Swords Dance versus Houndoom. Yay, another Houndoom. We get hit with Flamethrower but shrug it off and drop it with Brick Break. Flareon is next and we take it down with Brick Break. We do the same to Rapidash on the next turn and the next opponent is Magmortar and this is where it goes wrong. We do one hit that with Brick Break but we get burned by Flame Body and that lets Infernape survive our Aerial Ace and it hits Flare Blitz, taking both combatants out for a draw. Not good. Anyway, second try. It goes exactly the same as before, apart from one key difference, and that being that we don't get burned when we take Magmortar out, and as a result, we can end Infernape with Aerial Ace to give us the victory over Flint. Lucian then. About time we had one of these that we've got a type advantage against. This should go well, I figure. I'm not even worried about the Bronzong, something that can be annoying. Time to take him on and show him who the boss is. Mr. Mime does go for the 2 screens while we put 2 Swords Dancers up, and that's surely giving him a false sense of security before we tear through Mr. Mime with X-Scissor. Then Gallade goes down to Aerial Ace, and on the next turn, Espeon doesn't survive X-Scissor either. Bronzong doesn't do well against the X-Scissor either, and neither does Alakazam right at the end, and the battle is over pretty quickly. I bet he felt smug with that Reflect and Light Screen up. I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself though, because if anyone has the capability to wall us now, it's going to be Cynthia. I'm going to need Swords Dancers for sure, but Spiritomb could be worrying to power up on, given our special defence isn't fantastic. I do not know if we'll outspeed Garchomp either. Some worries, let's see. We get 2 Swords Dancers going versus Spiritomb, getting hit with Dark Pulse and Shadow Ball in the process, but they don't do too much damage at least. I don't want to take chances though and take it down with X-Scissor. One hitting Spiritomb is always a good thing. Togekiss is next, it's not a fairy type here, we bang it with Brick Break and that takes it out. We do the same to Lucario and next it's Garchomp. We are indeed faster and we down it with X-Scissor before we go on a bit of a tear up with that move. Striking into Milotic with the move to take it down before the Roserade at the end doesn't do any sort of better. And just like that, we've done it. Well, I didn't see that coming. With that victory, we've won the run and we can officially enter the Hall of Fame and brag about our Kricketune being the best like no one ever was. Well, that was intriguing. I didn't expect that Cyrus would be the biggest wall in the entire game, but being fair, the training I needed to do to beat him probably took me through the last bit of the game way easier than it should have. And Swords Dance always does make runs that bit easier. A lot easier, I'm not going to lie. I'm glad this one is out of the way. 2 challenges left for the year. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, drop a subscribe and leave a comment if you can. Always good for the algorithm. Join me again next time for the penultimate challenge of the year as we see if I can beat Pokemon Emerald with a single Chimecho. That's going to be the Christmas challenge for the year as it's bell themed. Or wind chime themed anyway, but let's not split hairs. And why not give it up? The final challenge of the year is going to be Pokemon Y with a single Riolu, a challenge I've been wanting to do for a while, and that'll also have the yearly recap too. If you have any ideas for future challenges, head to the comment section down below or follow the links in the description to my Twitter or my Discord. You might have noticed I've redesigned the opening somewhat recently. I'm sure for most of you it doesn't make much of a difference, but I am trying to make it somewhat easier on myself for doing the stuff at the start. You know, I have always liked the way that Scott's Forts does the videos with the base stats and the learn sets on the screens throughout. I did try that right at the very start. If you watch my early videos, the Pearl with Glameow video and the Pokemon Black with a single Meanfu video, but I went off it very quickly because, well, I was starting out then, I didn't think it looked particularly good, so I wanted to change it a bit. I'm happy with the backdrops I've got now. Anyway, there's not much going on with me. Not having a particularly pleasant end to the year, but I'll endure, I guess. Most of the year was pretty good. End is terrible, but we will have to see if next year is going to be any better. We're only like a month away when this video comes out, and it's gone way too quick. I might mention it in the yearly recap why the end of the year is not being particularly good, but I don't really want to talk about it now. Some wounds are still quite fresh. I did notice actually while I was recording this, because the last bit of the video was recorded at the same time that I am writing this and recording this. I was complaining about air slash, and I don't think it'll be up by the time this uploads, but there is going to be an upcoming episode of Pokemon Master Showdown, and I'm going to do a spoiler. It is Kahili of the Alola Elite Four versus Maxi of Team Magma, and there's something that goes on with air slash in there that means that I probably can't complain about the move ever again. So yeah, I don't think it'll be. It might be the next day actually if I've worked it out right. So the weekend when there's no gap, that will have been Hugh versus Ash Ketchum. Yeah, the one that comes up after this, that will be the Sunday directly after this. That will be Kahili versus Maxi. So yeah, check it out. In fact, watch Pokemon Master Showdown full stop. I'm trying to make it a thing. I'm really pushing this series in case you've not noticed. Well, while we're talking about stuff, I do have stuff with TCG as well, so I'm doing unboxing of stuff, so if you're even moderately interested, check that out. I like to think that I'm some of my liveliest best on there, so it's a distinct possibility. I mean, I recently got back into it big time. I mean, as I said earlier, nearly finished the base set, nearly finished Fossil, not a million miles away from Jungle. I've spent way too much money on it in the last month, and I'm recording this on the 24th of November. I'm actually recording it on Black Friday, believe it or not, so yeah. Anyway, I've rambled. That whole last bit was completely off the cuff. You might notice by the fact that it wasn't very fluid. I was a bit choppy in places. Got to jump off here. As always, this has been Once and Future Gamer. This has been Pokemon Platinum with a Single Kricketune. Take care now, have a great day, and see you next time. Bye-bye now, so long, see you, ta-ta.